And you know what is so wonderful, and I think all of us need to be reminded that you reached out and said, "Tell me about you," and then that just opens the door for just very candid conversation.
Yeah, and he was this. I mean, he had the big chain, and he owned the studio. And I said, "Well, tell me about your studio." And so then he told me his name, and he said his name was, I won't say his name, but anyway, and it was a biblical name. I said, "Okay, tell me about your mama." He goes, "Oh, my mama is an ordained minister of the gospel." I said, "I knew it." I knew you had a praying mama, because I said, "Tell me about yourself." And this guy starts telling me that he was doing all the wrong things in his life, involved in the wrong people, in the wrong things. And he just cried out to God. And I mean, because he said, "What are you doing here? What are you doing today?" And I told him I'm a Christian and I'm going to tell my story on this podcast. And so that obviously made him feel comfortable to say. And one day I just said, "God, what do you want me to do with my life? I want a purpose." And he goes, "And God plopped this studio down in my lap." I said, "See, this is where you're supposed to be." And this was not a chance meeting. It was a divine appointment, and we are friends. And I've invited him to my church. He says he's going to come. But, it's just those little seeds. I've really started praying, "God, help me to be aware of the divine appointments that you put in my life today, whether I'm in the line at the post office, or I'm in the grocery store, or I'm walking my dog and somebody stops and goes, 'Oh my gosh, that's not John Smith Jordan, but that's Sammy the singing dog.'"
Yeah, I want to get to that. But first, I'm going to tell everybody how to get in touch with you. I'm going to put a trailer at the bottom.
Oh, thank you. Probably the easiest way, my website is www.dawnsmithjordan.com, and there's all the contact information on there.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Now let's go to the idea. Now, first it was Zoe. Do you have a copy? Do you have a?
I do. I brought him in here with me.
You've got start with Zoe.
So in the pandemic, I have for 37 years sung an average of about 75 concerts and ministry events a year. Of course, when the pandemic happened, I became unemployed and everything was wiped off the calendar. And I remember I always wondered, I wonder what I would do if people quit inviting me to come. Well, it happened. And so first thing I did was I went on Facebook and I said, "Anybody out there ever wanted to learn to play the piano or sing? I'm your chick. Reach out." And Jane, God in his mercy, gave me 40 music students over Zoom.
Gosh.
And so I've never worked so hard in my life. But, we had a lot of time. I planted flowers for the first time on my patio. I did a garden for the first time. Like, I did all these things I'd never had time to do because I was always like you and like me, living out of a suitcase from one event to the next. And I had downtime and I thought, I've always wanted to write a children's book. And I did. And it's about my cat, Zuri The Christmas Kitty. And she is the funniest thing. And she was in here right before we got on. But that's why I wrote a book about her. Yeah. But Zoe's story is in a Reader's Digest version. I had gone, my cat had passed, and I had a dog. And I always like having a cat and a dog for when I travel. They have each other, their company for each other. And so I went to the shelter. All my animals are rescues, and I'm a great advocate for rescues. And the proceeds from these books also go to a local shelter here in Columbia, where I got my dog. And so anyway, but I had picked out this sweet little 6-month-old yellow and white kitty, and I had to go away that weekend. And so this was the cat that I picked out.
Oh, the little orange tag.
The little cute one. And so by the time I got home on Monday and I called the shelter and I said, "I'm on the way to get the kitten," she said, "Well, there was a special needs girl and her parents that came in over the weekend, and she and that kitten connected, and I knew that you'd be okay, that I let her go." And I was like, "Okay." Yeah. And so she goes, "But there is a kitten here who desperately needs somebody to love her. And she was born feral and she was born blind. And all of her siblings were adopted, except," so she brings out this little thing. Oh. And I'm like, "That is not a pretty kitty like the yellow one." But she said, I have been praying for her every day and putting drops in her eyes. And Jane, I want you to know God healed Zoe's eyes.
Oh my
And
goodness.
she can see. And so the first time that I pulled out the Christmas tree, she was like, what is going on? And she
I love it.
made her way to the top of the Christmas tree, ruined that Christmas tree. And but the moral of the story, and really the point of the book, is James 1:17. Every good and perfect gift is from the Father above. And that wasn't the gift that I wanted. I wanted that little yellow kitten.
Right.
But that kitten was meant for that special needs. And Zoe was meant for me.
Yeah.
And God knows what we need better than what we think we want. And his gifts are always better and perfect. And she was the perfect kitten for me. And she has been the funniest, greatest joy. Here is a picture. Oh, that's Sammy's book. Hang on. I'll go back. So, I mean, she has just been in that Christmas tree. There she is.
Oh my gosh.
But we're about to re-release this book because so many people have been so great and supportive, and so they just love her story and love her book. We just about sold out of the first printing, so we are reprinting, and the reprint is going to have QR codes like we have in my dog's book.
I love that. So I remember when I saw that Zoe, the Christmas Kitty, and you told me, you said, I absolutely cannot keep up with the orders.
We could. It was so great. It was so fun. And the thing about it is, Jane, my story is a story of hope, but it's a very heavy and deep story.
Yeah. Yes.
And I love the story God's written into my life, but I really have had so much fun with these little stories because they're sweet and they're joyful and they're bright and they're positive and they're just happy stories.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's been so. Oh, and so then my dog Cookie, who was Zoe's, she was so funny when I first adopted her. She crawled right up next to Cookie like he was her mother and would try to nurse on Cookie. So Cookie passed. He was 15, and Zoe and I were just not okay without our dog. And so a month had passed, and I went to the shelter just to window shop. Well, you know how women in window shopping is. And so this was Cookie's. Look at Cookie's face. Okay. See, there's his face.
Oh.
I walk in the shelter and I see all these dogs. And of course, my heart goes out to all of them. And then I see this face.
Oh, look at that. Oh.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, his face has the same widow's peak looking thing like my dog Cookie. And I said, I want to see that dog. The crazy thing is, my dog had died 1 month before I walked into that shelter. Sammy's family had dropped him off at the municipal shelter 1 month ago. And the day before he was moved to the rescue where I got him, is when I decided I'd go look the next day. Think about the timing of that.
Wow.
He had been there for 1 month. He'd been there 1 month. Not one single person had taken a look at that dog.
Oh my goodness.
Nobody. And you know why? Because I believe God was saving him for me.
Absolutely.
And so here he is. That's when I met him. And there's me.
Oh, I love that.
And so I was actually, and your listeners might not know, but there he is on adoption day. And let me just say, you've met my college roommate, Julie. Her niece is my illustrator. Rebecca Parfit is the illustrator. So we kept it in the family because Julie's like family. Here's Sammy.
Beautiful job. Oh my goodness.
I mean, they are incredible. But, I sang a French aria in Miss America. And so I was getting ready right after I'd adopted Sammy, and I was getting ready to go sing for a ladies event in Georgia. And I was in the living room where the piano is, and I hit the high, went to the really high note, and I heard, ooh, and I was like, what is that sound? And it was my dog, look. And I just literally thought, look at this picture. picture. She did such a great
I
job.
love that. Oh, I love that.
And there's Zoe. But I'm telling you, it has been so fun. So we put QR codes in Sammy's book so that you can see him. And I'm actually getting ready to send a video to America's Got Talent. I don't know if I'll get on, but I'm gonna try it, of us singing the prayer. And it's a duet. And that is in the book as well. But it's just been the funniest thing because these two animals have amazing stories. And the point of Sammy's book is that Sammy had a voice. And I don't know what led his other family to leave him at a shelter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they ever knew that he had a voice and a song to sing, but given a second chance from somebody that was willing to give him a second chance, he found his voice. And so that's the message to children. Every single one of us has a voice, and every single one of us has a song to sing, and given the chance, we will. And so anyway, they are so sweet and they're so fun. And coming up on June 1st, Sammy goes with me to book signings, and it's the fun.
Good grief.
So fun. He goes with me. We've done book readings and book signings, and he will sing for the children. And he loves going because when he's done, he gets a cheeseburger every time. But
incredible.
It's been so much fun, Jane. And your books are so fun, but your books also have depth. And they have really good morals to the stories that you share. And the same with this, you can share deep messages in a really fun, sweet, engaging way. And I will say my Aunt Sue, who was Miss South Carolina, Aunt Sue, she was Miss South Carolina in 1965. She's my editor. So we have had more fun doing the books together. And we'd be on the phone with each other, editing and talking through it. And she'd be reading a part that she had suggested editing, and she'd just be, and then I'd be, and it's just been the sweetest process for all of those reasons.
Yeah.